Hello, I'm Ms. Vivi from Bartlett Public Library with Memphis Public Libraries. Today we're going to talk a little bit about surface tension, bubbles, and in the end I'll share a recipe for homemade bubble solution. So in this demonstration we're going to talk about soap bubbles. But bubbles can be made of many different types of materials like the bubbles that you see in soda. For soap bubbles, bubbles are a layer of soap and water surrounding a pocket of air. The soap and water holds itself together with surface tension. Surface tension is what keeps water in puddles when you drop it onto something like a penny or a table instead of spreading all over the place. If you drop water on a wet table, see what happens. So the molecules that make up water are all pulling on each other. So in the middle of the liquid, it's pretty evenly all around being pulled. But on the edges, the water underneath is pulling on it, but the air is not pulling the other way. That's what makes that sort of layer on the top. That's that surface tension that we're talking about. So let me show you a little bit on the difference between regular water and soapy water. So if you blow bubbles in plain water, let me turn that so you can actually see through the glass. You can see our bubbles have popped pretty quickly. In my soapy water, you can see the bubbles from when I poured it into the glass. The bubbles stay considerably longer. Now you might guess that this means that soapy water has stronger surface tension because it's holding up longer, but the opposite is actually true. When we add soap to the water, we're lowering the surface tension of the water. The plain water is actually collapsing quicker because the water around the air pocket has a stronger pull back to the water itself. So it's going to collapse that down. It's going to push all the air out and pop. Now, we have that wonderful demonstration of soapy water and regular water. When we mix it into a bubble solution, you can actually turn this into a science experiment. The really cool thing about this science experiment is you don't have to stick to just soap and water or soap, water, and our special ingredient for the bubble solution. You can try all different kinds of things. What if you add lemon juice to water? How does that change it? What if you add, baking soda to water? What does that do? So use your plain water as your control, blow a bubble in it, and see how long it takes to pop. Then take your various solutions, blow bubbles in those, and see how long they take to pop. All right, you ready to try making our bubble solution so you can test this out yourself? All right. The recipe for bubbles is pretty simple. You're only going to need 3 ingredients. You're going to need some water that we have measured out here. You're going to need either light corn syrup or vegetable glycerin, and you're going to need some dishwashing liquid. So for the water, you're just going to start with basic water. When I'm making this for myself, I use distilled water. When I'm making it for a large group, like at the library, I just use plain tap water. Depends on how picky you are. Again, I like using the distilled water for myself, but it is far more expensive than just turning on the tap and letting the water run. You're going to need 6 cups. I already have 4 measured into my bowl here. And we're just going to pour the other 2 in. You don't need any special temperature for this. You can use cold water or warm water. Just remember that if you are working with small children, hot water heats up very quickly and can cause burns pretty rapidly. So the next thing that you need is 1 cup of dish soap. You're going to want to use some pretty cheap dish soap for this. Don't go for the fancy stuff that says ultra or super concentrated. I usually go to Dollar Tree and get just a bottle of Dollar Tree soap, dish soap. It's about as much as you need, and it's pretty inexpensive. So I'm just going to go ahead and pour my whole big cup into here. When you're pouring this into your water, you'll notice that I'm going to actually go in pretty deep and pour in. You want to try and do it without getting a lot of bubbles in. Is it the end of the world if you get bubbles in it? No. Is it better if you don't? Sure. Now the last ingredient, you have two options. You can use glycerin, which I like to use again when I am at home for myself. I think they make great bubbles. Or you can use like corn syrup, which again, when I'm doing large batches, just ends up being cheaper overall. If you're doing the glycerin, it only takes a tablespoon of glycerin, and anything that's a glycerin-based product should work. Just make sure you don't have any dyes that when the bubbles pop might stain your clothing. Corn syrup, however, you have to use an entire quarter cup of it. So a lot more by volume, but it is also much easier to find in the stores. I usually have to order my glycerin off of Amazon or something like that. There we go. 1/4 cup. And we're just going to pour that straight into our bubble mixture. I always like mixing the corn syrup into the water mixture because it's both clear, but it makes this really cool shiny ribbon in there. And then you're just going to stir gently, mix it all up. Try not to get a lot of the bubbles in. I don't know if anyone else has this problem, but when I'm using commercially bought bubble solution, if it gets shaken up quite a bit, it loses its length. Loses its ability to do bubbles pretty quickly. All right, we have it stirred. And that is our bubble solution. I usually let this sit for about 24 hours before using it, but it will make bubbles pretty much immediately. Just not as good. You have your bubble solution, so now it's time to make some bubble wands. My favorite way to do this at the library is with pipe cleaners. Unfortunately, I don't have pipe cleaners at my house, so I can't show you what it looks like, but they're pretty easy. All you have to do is fold them into a loop. I usually like to twist the end and maybe put on some beads or decoration. It's a great, short, quick craft for kids to do, and they love it because then they can put the bubble wand in and blow their own bubbles, and they made everything all by themselves, which is pretty fantastic. A couple other things that I like to use around the house are straws. I know earlier you saw blowing bubbles through the straw. These I tend to use more for younger kids who haven't quite mastered how to purse their lips and blow through something in a bubble, but they do tend to know how to blow through straws. They aren't as good at blowing bubbles because you have to hold them perfectly straight or the bubble solution actually runs it down back towards you. So try not to drink your bubble solution. The other thing that I love to use are cookie cutters. I find the plastic ones tend to do better than the metal ones, but if you have a kid who doesn't get frustrated easily, the metal ones can work just fine. So these make really big bubbles. You can see how long they're getting. You see those big, huge bubbles? Mind you, this is with the bubble solution that I just made. I did not wait for it to sit for 24 hours while we were filming, so they tend to take a little bit more effort. But they make some really awesome bubbles. And those are just some quick and easy ways to have bubble wands if you don't have anything that you already use at home. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit about surface tension and how to make your own bubble solution. For more programs and more information about the library, check out our website, www.memphislibrary.org, or go to our Facebook page and keep up with us there. You guys have a great day.